for us as well. Normally, Dr. Bob sends me a text, a tweet, something like that to know what we're going to talk about. He did not do that today, which means it's all in play. How are you, Dr. Bob?
I'm doing all right, Dan. How are you?
Great to talk to you. How was the New Year's? Have a nice holidays?
Well, it's not really a holiday for me necessarily. I'm got 35 bowl games and college basketball and the NBA going at the same time.
Oh, so you are classifying the season of giving as work week.
Giving to my clients.
There you go.
I'm having a great basketball season and making up for what was a horrible NFL year. But college football was good, so overall, I'm doing more giving than taking.
Oh, well, good. That is the point of having you on. Good, sir. Dr. Bob of drbobsports.com. You can check out his website where you get all kinds of information that will hopefully lead you to placing your bet, for entertainment purposes only, correctly. And any thoughts on tonight's Cotton Bowl? We got LSU, Texas A&M.
Yeah, actually, this is a game where all the situations, it's kind of funny about bowl games. A&M, and I was on A&M a lot late in the season.
Yes, you were.
And they've won and covered 6 straight games. I think I was on them 3 times during that 6-0 run as best bets. So they're coming in as a hot team. LSU, kind of stumbled down the stretch after is ranked as high as number 5 in the nation. And what's funny about bowl games is the hotter a team is going into the bowl game, the worse they do against the spread in the bowl game, and the teams that slumped late in the year tend to refocus themselves and play well relatively in the bowl game. So, whatever late season form you think applies really doesn't. You shouldn't think that way. It just goes the opposite because, having 3 or 4 weeks off, whatever momentum you had is gone. Plus, the team you're about to play has film on what you were doing during those 3 or 4, during that hot streak at the end of the year. And teams that were playing poorly, like I said, tend to refocus and play well. So, that's the situation with LSU. If they're actually in a really good situation, they played poorly down the stretch, A&M played great down the stretch. So all the situations favor LSU here. My math model didn't really favor LSU, kind of leaned slightly with Texas A&M to win straight up, but not to the point where I'd get off of LSU, but because the situations are so strong in their favor. So I made LSU a strong opinion tonight, but not a best bet because the math did favor A&M a little bit.
Again, what I like about you, Doc, is you do not involve feelings, any sort of, basically you're waiting for your math model to crunch you a number that says this team is a best bet, this is not a strong bet, but it's an opinion, that sort of thing. So we got ourselves NFL wildcard weekend. We got Seattle and New Orleans in the biggest number of the weekend, -10, which, there aren't too many NFL regular season games where if you give me 10 points, I might not think about taking it. But the playoffs, a little bit of a different animal. What do you think about the Seahawks and the Saints kicking off our wild card weekend?
Well, you don't often see home underdogs in the playoffs. Last year there was one of them, and I think everybody thought Arizona was going to get crushed, when Green Bay came to town, and Arizona won that game.
Went off pinball on us.
Yeah, home underdogs in the playoffs are 22-9 against the spread. So, this is sort of a different animal, though. There hasn't been a team as bad as Seattle in the playoffs to be at home. So it's kind of a little different situation. But, I like Seattle in this game. New Orleans is overrated. They only covered 6 games out of 16. So they weren't covering the spread all year. Their offense, people think they have this really explosive offense, and but the reality is that a few games this year where they really had great offensive games. But in 10 of their 16 games, the Saints averaged 5.4 yards per play or worse. 5.4 is the league average. So 10 of the 16 games that the Saints played, they averaged the league average or worse offensively, including the last 4 games they haven't been able to move the ball that well.
New Orleans not even nearly the prolific of offense that was their calling card last year.
Exactly, and the defense is actually a little bit worse than average. It looks okay, but they face a lot of backup quarterbacks. They faced, I think they faced Tony Pike when they played Carolina one game. They got the...
That was your Cincinnati guy, by the way. I know you loved Tony Pike at Cincinnati last year.
Yeah, not so good this year, though, in the one game you played. But the point is, New Orleans has a slightly worse than average defense, and Seattle actually, they played pretty well against the Saints the first time around. They lost by 15, but they were -2 in fumbles in that game, and that was sort of randomly bad luck. I mean, Hasselbeck tore up the Saints defense, 366 passing yards at 8.5 yards a pass, and that's not necessarily coincidental. In Week 10, Ben Obamanu became a starting wide receiver opposite Mike Williams. In the 4 games that Williams and Obamanu both played in which Hasselbeck was the quarterback, Hasselbeck averaged 7.8 yards per pass play, which is fantastic. So this pass attack is much better than people give it credit for. So Seattle's offense is not so bad. The defense not great, but still, Seattle's not a horrible team here. I think the line is much too high. Even if I don't adjust for that, I still get maybe New Orleans by 7 at the most. You can make this line, and I think 4.5 is more legitimate based on the current personnel. So I like Seattle plus the points.
He's taking Seattle, and he'll take the 10 points. I think a game that is going to be just hard to call, and I really don't know why I'm favoring towards Green Bay. But we've got the Eagles, we've got the Packers. It's happening in Philadelphia, and shake it out for me, Doctor.
Yeah, my first instinct was Green Bay too. I mean, their defense is playing great. Aaron Rodgers is back, and he's always playing at a high level. Michael Vick has struggled a little bit recently. Teams are blitzing him a lot. He's probably going to see a lot of blitzes here. But Green Bay blitzed him the first time. I mean, Week 1, after they knocked out Kevin Cobb, and all Michael Vick did was run for 110 yards, I think, in that game, or 101 yards on 8 runs or 11 runs, something like that. He just ran out of the pocket and took off. So they got to be careful about blitzing him too much here. Because I'm surprised my math actually favored Philadelphia by 5 points in this game, which surprised me. But, after I did some looking into Philadelphia, they played 4 games this year without Asante Samuel. So that's going to make their defense, and they were terrible defensively in those 4 games. Even the Niners lit up Philadelphia when Samuel wasn't playing. So in the 12 games he did play, their defense was solidly better than average. And Green Bay's pass offense is going to be slowed a little bit. On the other side, I mean, Green Bay, good defensively, but Philadelphia is one of the best offensive teams in the country, in the nation, second best to New England. I mean, they run it well. Vic throws it well. He hasn't thrown a lot of picks. So I was kind of surprised that the math favored Philadelphia a little bit. And also, you got Philly off two straight losses. Well, teams that lose 2 of their last 3 games in the regular season are 27-13 against the spread at home in their first playoff game. Teams off a loss are good at home in their first playoff game. There's all kinds of situational stuff. Also, revenging teams. Philadelphia lost that game. Vic didn't quite bring them all the way back. Teams with revenge are 36-19 against the spread in the playoffs. So there's some technical factors.
I like it. So you like the Eagles then to cover it at home?
Yeah, I do. I made that one a strong opinion. I picked the 27-19 Eagles.
Let's get to Sunday. We got Jets, Colts, Kansas City, and Baltimore. Jog me through it.
Jets, Colts, interesting. I've been against the Colts most of the second half of the season. They've been lucky a few times and covered. The Colts offense is worse than average, or about average without Austin Collie. I mean, he makes a big difference in that offense, and they really haven't been able to throw the ball all that